Welcome back to another edition of Recruiting Thursday, right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network, brought to you by our friends at Sendell Volkswagen in Greensburg. We would love to meet you. Jack Ridenour here with you, and today we are joined by current Derry javelin thrower and recent Auburn javelin commit, Sophia Mazzoni. Sophia, first off, thanks so much for joining us today, and obviously, big congratulations on the awesome commitment. I mean, how does it feel now that you've got that out of the way and you can enjoy your senior year?
It's definitely taken a lot of stress off of my side, and I'm glad I can just finally was able to make that decision, and now I'm excited to just relax and enjoy my last year.
Well, what was it about Auburn that drew you there? What was it about the school, the program that ultimately sold you?
Immediately when I got there, I felt very comfortable with the town, the community, the coaches. Coach Evil, I really liked him. He was great. He was the only coach out of all of my visits that had like a plan for me coming in as a freshman and going up to my fifth year, and that really drew my attention towards him. Um, and definitely the team connection was great. I mean, it felt like I could fit here and I could see myself with this group of athletes. And they gave off like such a positive feeling, and it was like get to work, let's go. And I loved the fact that they were just like so excited to meet me. They were so excited to be at practice. They were all just so excited to be there in general. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of very important things you touched on, especially kind of that feeling of being wanted, right? I mean, that's what I think all student athletes want at the end of the day. But
For
who are
sure.
some other schools that were looking at you and were on your radar?
So I was supposed to go to Pitt, Penn State, um, and Bucknell this last month. And I was also supposed to go to Princeton as well. Um, but once I got finished with my Notre Dame visit, I realized that I wanted to commit earlier than I thought. Um, and Michigan and Auburn's visits were really far away just because I had some in the middle. So I contacted the coaches from Pitt, Penn State, Bucknell, and Princeton and explained the situation to them and told them I wasn't interested anymore. Um, and then I got the official dates closed down and I got them earlier um, just because I wanted to make the decision way earlier than I planned to.
Well, what do you plan on majoring in once you arrive in college?
I'm planning to major in psychology and try to go something in the sports area for sports psych. But yeah, that's my plan for now.
Well, speaking of that, during your career so far, I mean, how much have you felt the psychology of sports and just kind of the mental side of things have become a really important aspect in your performance?
That's honestly like the biggest part is your mentality. I mean, like practicing and putting in all your effort is definitely top of the list. But where you at mentally has to be number one. You have to be prepared, and you have to know what you're feeling, and you have to know your limits too. Um, I think as a student athlete, um, that's the most important thing. And I mean, noticing how I cope with myself when I'm in a slump or I can't figure something out, you learn as you grow up, and you learn as a young adult to figure out how to just um, work with yourself. I mean, your coach isn't always going to be there with you throughout the whole process. So you need to learn as a student athlete how to figure yourself out and figure out what you need.
Well, it's definitely a great approach. And I think you hit the nail on the head, just kind of knowing that, hey, I need to be at my best mentally if I want to be at my best physically. And so you kind of start to know that, hey, these are kind of interchangeable and intertwined with one another as well. But I want to get into your throwing career some and kind of start from the very beginning. What got you interested in javelin? When did you start, wanting to compete in throwing and wanting to throw competitively at that?
So I started in middle school, seventh grade, and that season got cut short due to COVID. And I always liked throwing. Like I liked doing I liked doing shot put with Coach McNichol, and I liked doing disc. It was just something other than softball that I was doing, and it was just fun because I had all my friends there and stuff like that. Um, And then freshman year rolled around, and I was introduced to the javelin in the spring by Coach McNichol, and he was like, "Hey, like, just throw this a couple of times, like, see what you can do." And honestly, like, we didn't think anything of it. We were just like, "Oh, like, what's gonna happen?" Like, it was just something. I mean, I was probably 13, 14 years old, so I had no idea what I was gonna like even like have with that. And I realized through my freshman season how interesting it was and how different it was. And throughout the year, I focused so much on javelin to the point where I didn't even want to put it down. Um, and after my freshman season, I made it to states, which was like mind blowing for me because track is not my sport. At the time, it was not even at the top of my list. And then I made it to states, and I was like, wow, I can do something with this. So I worked basically from June to February. I was in the gym basically every day. Me and Coach McNichol threw the turbo jabs in the gym every 3 days a week, probably in the winter. And I got very, very, very strong in that amount of time. As a freshman, I was pretty small and I didn't have a lot of muscle on me. Um, so working with that and working with Coach McNichol was probably the best thing I could have done at that in that time frame.
Well, you mentioned your background as a softball player, so I have to ask, I mean, how much did having that as, your primary sport at the beginning kind of help you transition into throwing?
So I was a catcher and I was a center fielder. So having that, you need to have an explosive arm, right? You need to be quick. You need to be fast. And I think just the shoulder strength that I built from when I was 10 to like 13, 14, I think that helped me a lot from where I went from Jav. And then I just grew muscle from there. So it was a great starting point, just having that motion already and understanding it. The hardest thing that I needed to understand was how to hold it. And that was my biggest problem. But I think after like the first or second meet, I got it down and I just went from there.
Yeah, and once you kind of get that first initial feeling of, hey, I've started to figure this out, now you're starting to put it all together. I know that last year was a really big season for you. You mentioned going to states as a freshman. You come up as a runner-up as a sophomore, and then junior year, you're a state champion. Talk a little bit about just the mentality going into that tournament, especially with how close you had been in the previous 2 years, and just maybe what were some things that were different in your approach that maybe weren't present in the previous two runs?
I can definitely say never give up because sophomore year it was pretty rough at states. I understand that I got the Whippeal medal, but at states I felt like I just needed to do more, and I wanted a better outcome. Um, and I realized what I needed to do that. And working from not even just my freshman year to my sophomore year to my junior year, me and Coach McNichol were in the gym a lot in the fall and the winter. And we trained throughout the whole winter as well, just working on strength, quickness, mobility, all you can think of. And we were really focused on what we wanted. Um, and just relaxing and trusting the process of what coach and I have been doing definitely relaxed me a little bit. Just coming in as from such a small school and coming in with literally no experience, more than 2 years as a sophomore. Um, I think that was really just an eye opener for me. Just never giving up on what you want to achieve, and it's the biggest thing I can say to student athletes is even if you fail, you can't give up. You cannot give up, no matter what.
Well, you definitely didn't give up last year, and it was again impressive. I was reading some things, seeing that you actually set your personal best during the state championship on the first throw, mind you. So,
Yeah.
did you know when you let go of it that you were like, "Wow, that felt really good," or was that kind of just any other throw that you had had before?
Well, usually my first throw is my best, and that was like the whole season, the whole junior year season. My first throw was always my best throw. Um, So as soon as I walked onto that runway for my first throw, I was like, let's get it done. Like this is I wanted to do it first anyway. So I put it all into that runway and I put it onto the first throw. And my practice throws were actually pretty up there. They were probably low 150s, mid 150s, and I was like surprising myself just cuz I usually don't hit that at like just normally in practice cuz it was just like a 60% throw, I think, and I was hitting 150. So I was pretty excited to just get the first round done. And as soon as I let go of it, I knew 100% where it landed, how it landed. I knew immediately.
Well, I know that you had also a really big summer this past summer after that, winning some national championships and just competing at the national level. How much confidence did that state championship give you? And how much confidence do you feel in yourself now, knowing that, hey, a couple of years ago, I was not a track and field athlete. I was a softball player. And now all of a sudden I'm going to be throwing at a Power Five school. I mean, just trying to sum up the last 3 or 4 years, if you can, into, just what it's been like, this whirlwind of a run you've been on.
It's just crazy. It has all moved so fast, and I've gotten a lot out of the past couple years. Um, I never thought as a sophomore player from Pennsylvania I would have gotten to any of these schools. I never even would have thought about this. And the fact that I'm going to one of my dream schools, it's I've never been so grateful, and it's finally like paying off, and I want to get the best version of myself, and I feel like I can do that with Auburn.
Well, you're definitely a great example for other student athletes to follow of what happens when you set your mind to it. And it's incredible to see the continued trajectory that you're on as a thrower. But Sophia, it's been great to have you on today. Before we let you run, I know that you still got a little bit of time in high school before you go off to college, but I'm curious to hear from you. Once you go off to college, you move out of the house, you move away from home. What are you most excited for when you go to college? Doesn't have to be athletics. It could be anything. Just what are you excited for during that next chapter in life?
I'm excited to be on my own. I'm excited to have my own freedom and run my own life. Basically, I'm very excited to be independent. Um, I'm just excited to finally start this new chapter in my life.
Well, Sophia, it's been very exciting to see your career and also to see how you've been able to develop. Again, thanks so much for stopping by. And again, congratulations on the success and good luck the rest of this year.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's Auburn javelin commit Sophia Mazzoni. As always, thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Recruiting Thursday, brought to you by Sendell Volkswagen in Greensburg. We would love to meet you. Make sure you check out our other Recruiting Thursdays that are available on our YouTube channel. And as always, this is Jack Ridenour signing off, never saying goodbye, simply a see you later, right here and only on the Westmoreland Sports Network.